Hello, humanity. Evolution science feels like a game. It is no game. Slash S. So, this is what we do. Across the globe, we already have admitting them already criminally foreign influence statutes and precedents. We simultaneously where everyone nations know this, each one of them. So they put the way they make charities and make them like we have the forsaken urban, and the suburban is a pathology that is recorded that was involved with the fact cheating nature, torture, and slavery of in many ways of our founding parents who did not have free speech. It is true that they fought to put the surface value of the Constitution up, but already still entrenched. What James Madison could only made a plan to be able to that was only capable of semi counter extorting and thwarting the phases that they're about to go into another phase of what they had intercolony possessions by the identities of other nations that themselves were identities possessed by what they were forced to be nations individually grouped together, suits and ties, shared policing, shared fact treatment, quality agreements peacefully in relationship to negative value nature progressions, acts and natures like wars, like predicate acts, like criminal insidious natures, wrongdoers, wrongdoing on mass scales, juxtaposed nature's needs, interests to hide from the language and to hurt and keep the language shut up that would describe each location's areas and states and positions. So we can't leave out one location. Not one location of one modern nation is not in a semi ancient trap that is an engineering that's exploiting the natural native engineering. That is a reason we are fact cheating nature, communications this way. It is a value to itself, the identity of value progression as a scientific value that is each identity of value progression value slash value progression individually grouped and together. This is how we are a species. Only the extent of it is debatable. But scientific process and scientific consensus are recorded by the the the, um, the identities of jobs of sciences and by the identities of campuses of each age and nature in relationship to those jobs, service people, all identities of the ground locations originally and still victims, and in what kept and keeps evil, fake care, misprision identities originally and still. I'm not a lawyer. Thank God the bar itself is originally and still criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought with the sciences because of how they were victims, child abused. So we have to understand it this way because this is what is actually recorded. That's evidence. Now they are also offensively pretending how they recorded that they don't understand this. They're trying to pretend they have the integrity to judge things in courts that are already actively involved with police forms, all private databases already needed to hide no, they've been stacking falsified police reports, drawing kids into fake locations, tactically in relationship to the pathology we are as a value progression. Each identity of the ground location was set up for this. Since before our founding parents, those crazy laws were not just against the color black. To to have the honesty and the quality of fact sheet nature to counter that then and now. That's why we don't want to have reliefs for them. That's why everything that is self-defeating, fact sheet nature, for the people most forsaken, where everyone is, not by accident. This is where and how, this is a method that is completely fact sheet nature. Just like someone's gonna say, or if someone says, "Oh, I didn't do something," but they did. Well, everyone says that. So everyone's lying to people. Every branch of government has been lying to each and having that forced self value without realizing it as victims to each age of fact sheet nature. Each position, identity, the ground has to go to a job, has to go to an identity of science that was made in conjunction to everything abridged, perfect world forsaken. They even use former director of the FBI down, other agencies down. The agencies are accorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with courts using crime method of pretending passions and emotions not to believe and understand this when that is actually recorded. They are kept like other nations, suits and ties, kept styles of liars in relationship to the nature of our nature, that which has us all along water, clear, pure, vaccines, all along food, nature, beautiful, tactically DNA. The Garden of Eden is about a scientific value. The first part of the Old Testament, by the stewards of the religions, by the stewards of the sciences, by the stewards of the branches of government, they in collusion, fakes a difference, positive treatments as standing criminal and ceaseless natures, preventing sequence nature treatments, and in relationship to the value of science, and in relationship to the value that we're supposed to write about before matter was bonded, and the diffusion of more positive onto itself identity as an identity of volume, making more of itself. Before matter was bonded, there was one identity of value progression. That is the identity of, it is an identity of forever, nature. Nature as identity. The ancients realized and were shown because they didn't have the before criminally foreign influence sciences for all locations, areas, and states in semi-ancient times, since before modern religions. They criminally re-engineered what had already been revealed to perfection as the course of evolution's fruits and gifts, in stems and soils, in relationships to water, relationships to its identity, the ground, relationship to our quality of fact, human nature, foundation, upon the tactically denatured native identity of the ground, relationship to our fact, and the value between that. Can't help but be there. This is the quality of fact, cheap nature, ancients revealed before that semi-ancient archetypal criminal enterprise realized that nature would continue to demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, rather than evolution's positive value nature progressions, acts, and natures, and that they could maintain methodically, effectively, easily, without being discerned, each modern nation's identity, each location of each identity, individually grouped it together, self-valued, breaching screens, tools, roles used remotely, lie progressions from each database relationship, for example, deeper and deeper to it. Juxtapose motivations, natures, needs, interests, tactically with, but not really what keeps everyone. The same lies, not just as lies, but as evidence, criminally foreign influenced database, interbranch, intersciences, interprivate at the same time. See, most people don't have experience with this, and when they do, see, this has the identities of the branches of government in collusion with overt criminal enterprise, private ones, and shared policings in relationship to sanctions treatments that are counter to things, to identities of value progressions, grouped distinctly from and altogether distinctly from suits and ties, nations, encounters, peaceful that are still worse, victim predators, child abuse, incapable only being jobs, having been uses of and uses of state uses of identities, where identity is a nature of volume. Only the extent of it is debatable, but all parts of it are being prevented free speech unless it's theater. Theater is sequence nature. And even if you're three sequence natures, I mean, even if you're inherent, active, and progressive, temporary, positive, lasting, if it's not lasting to the what is lasting to its identity of value progression, the one that has us all longing clean water, that's why it has the negative value nature progressions get worse. That's why it has the fruits and gifts and means from nowhere, clicks of in understanding. Oh, each individual is a complete identity of volume, because one identity will only stay and can only stay complete, but as a complete nature of integrity and the identity of volume that can't even just be male and female at the same time. Can't even just be. And then there's value coming in and out. Children, age, death. Because simultaneously, more forever nature is being made. Part of this is how it is self-generating. This is how it is distinct identities of sequence nature that are forever nature. But offensively, we have scientific consensus and have scientific process that is not really scientific process, is valuing having been denied and the denial of forced exceptions in exception nature. So we have entertained. So you know, fake sides and fake difference, enforced roles originally and still, or you prevented free speech and they'll stack more and more lies against you. They already have done that so long through the same methods and criminal foreign influences, because it was never for the motivations for the that they stick onto the people, even when they're real, like money for drug dealing or something like that, with overt criminal enterprises, with how they're juxtaposed really with private, with internations militaries here or there shared on off campuses, other nations police forms, here they're shared on and off campuses. Weathersfield Interbranch involved databases worse than just crimes against kids, worse than just war crimes. This is intermilitary. That's why they put those real or made up, especially if they made it up about the people that die with drugs. Those people just writing lies into databases. They have economic systems and penalty systems and interpreters of that. All recorded. Those identity grounds were already used remotely. They can't defend themselves and have discerned what is actually recorded, all locations, areas, and states. They're already in collusion. Those same courts pretend to be against collusion with Russians. They're already in with all kinds of natures of whole racketeering acts, worse than racketeering acts, predicate acts, methods, predicate act methods, already uses of companies like AT&T. Nothing against you guys, AT&T. Thank God for phones. Thank God for YouTube. Thank God for, you know, Facebook. I knew, but at the same time, we get hurt by all these things because they have fake Facebook pages pretending to be me, fake YouTube pages pretending to be me. The same ones that are involved with the courts, with dozens of people from the on and off the state judicial branch offices in my town, all along that route that goes by there. What is actually recorded, a whole bunch of people with sequence shifts. It is evidence that and how they forge names, switch names, make confessions, falsify police reports into branch, switch officers' names. You have human trafficking acts roles like that, illusions, no. Then they have to pretend not to remember things. So we have them doing this with doctors too. They are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated a whole bunch of people involved with a Leahy family, involved with identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering, sequence shifts, and forging names, switching fake conversations with me. All kinds of drug crimes, roles with on off campuses racketeering acts, or I don't know if they're called predicate acts. And so, former director of the FBI down, Robert Luskin, his lawyer Robert Cheverry, and a whole bunch of federal criminals and ones that were co-defendants of his at the time of my father's death. They're also recorded pretending such like they have the like they show you pretended legitimate treatments of what they call both sides of value treatments when they show you courts, when they show you how things are. These are all roles with sequence shifts in relationship to these racketeering methods with the uses of the wire crimes, uses of the mail crimes, uses of the mail crime methods, uses of the wire crime methods, uses of the identities here and there, simultaneously in relationship to value progressions that have also originally and still been Washington, D.C., World Trade Center here and the equivalent, originally and still, forced manifest position in relationship to that breaching method entrenched with those sick laws, not per racism. Science that pretends to perceive that and that believes that that we should it was about racism is science that is breaching screen, breaching weapon tool role with this method that American history is really about. So this is what we do. Each modern nation's in this trap, forced to be self-valued for time reasons. All victim reactions forced only to be capable. This is positive and negative have a relationship to this way of logic for identity. Now, I'm not a doctor, not a police form, not a lawyer. There have recorded criminal readings of statutes. Again, delusions are with so they have passions forward, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, which they're preventing that from being reported by using the media also, by using their identity of the ground, each individual group together, by using their treatments of positive standing as criminal and seditious natures. And we can change that real fast. All you have to do is follow mandated law. See, the more they don't follow mandated law, the more they have to pretend not to perceive, not to be able to perceive that, and how we could demonstrate them lying, which is in relationship to their sequence shifts, their predicate acts. WFSB attached me and my family to fake locations, fake relationships to others. This is how the judicial branch and the executive branch are recorded with criminally foreign influence crime methods and actually recorded natures with a whole bunch of other nations too, here and there, kept the same method. Had nothing to do with DACA, but it used such. It uses such. This was sophistication here before any market's position, before any physical value position, before any legal position. That's what witch trials are about. Not just a witch trial. That's lying about with each location, area, state, each person's value, the identity, the ground value, the native value, let alone the Native Americans. We're in an identity of volumes, identity of relationship to itself, effectively, easily maintained, self-valued, criminally foreign influenced, fact cheating nature, database relationship, positive treatment. For example, in relationship to reactions, when I ask to have sequence shifts, interbranch, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, what does that mean? That means New Britain Superior Court, for example, dozens of people with them through time. They've been attaching little kids and myself to fake locations. Simultaneously, they've been with other courts and their family members. The same thing, victims, but victims, predators. Everyone speaking through others, valuing that more and more. Database predicate acts, wrongdoing acts. See, now the people who decide what's a predicate act or not, what's wrongdoing, are ones recorded involved with them, with other natures of motivations, other methods of hiding them. But that's in collusion. That was kept only capable of valuing collusion with that which was sophistication here, all identity, the ground locations, Native American nations A through Z already had been re-engineered. Victim reaction, self-defending roles with those reactions, forced to blame other things, others themselves, and forced to self-value that. For time reasons, all kinds of, this is a method. This is not just a breaking method, what slavery was. This is not just this is a breaching machine method, not just phases. This is not hard to overcome. So we claim each modern nation, we play as the species body of value, as humanity, as value as nature is value. And as a little bit more, as the value is the quality of our diffusion juxtaposed with that, which we are. not stagnant value, not value only inside our body. The body we were when we were young is gone, but it's still value, not just for our experience, but for the value of the identity of volume we are that wants more positive and needs more positives that's also positive onto itself. Otherwise, it forces it from here, Leith of IDs. And that's for self valued because everything was juxtaposed. And where it's a fact cheating nature collusion, where it's a sequence racketeering collusion, where it's identity racketeering collusion that keeps all self-valued roles with misprision, collusion against each age of fact cheating nature, timed and sustained, and not per everyone's actual motivations. So no one's going to tell their actual motivations, but not legit, not naturally. Only because of everyone blamed other things other than themselves, and that's all anyone can fathom now is perception through this as this trap, and by what is worse, use of every location, area, and state, use of each identity of science as only let be conceived, which is on off campuses relationships that are known and unknown, even to the people who have offices, who have ranks. But see, that originally and still also had unknown that he couldn't fathom because this was sophisticated, how this was sophistication here, and how it was using motivations, nature's new methods that the people with the states, areas, locations, and national and international who have to counter the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures like predicate acts, like criminal insidiousness, like methods of that. See, that's not just those acts, not just those methods, especially the legal ones. Then they have to hide further and further. So what they do, they pretend to perceive that they think it was most plausible that witch trials were caused by drugs. I saw that. I don't know where I saw that. Repeated different places. Witch trials were caused by what was consciously, methodically making and keeping all locations, areas, and states and sciences needing to respond and needing to act in relationship as fact-cheating nature to the existence of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Natures like the identities of criminal enterprises, that they were built blaming the wrong cause, because they were built, engineered in collusion with the branches of government, all private databases, all military databases, foreign and domestic, in collusion. They're in here through what keeps that again further and further true, from database relationships to that one method that is originally still. Then after it did this to the nations A through Z, people A through Z, locate all locations, areas, states, all sciences, all treatments of positive and negative in relationship to the value slash value progression of premises, of sequence, of identity, so of what is active, capable of being fathomed. What is progressive value? What is the progressive value of having had self-valued and justified, and how justified having been justified, self-valued, and how that was exploited? So self-value, how we have criminally foreign influence zoning laws, pathology of homes in the North and South since before cars, where they had slavery in the North and South, and no one could, against everyone. They were forced to be this tactically denatured native ground, pathology of homes, identity of the ground, streets, roads, locations, uses of the truth of what is good of everything, use of the truth of what is bad about everything, collusion with what is attaching lies to everything, self-value to be used remotely, because then they're valuing the roles with the lie progressions onto and as locations around people that have only capable of now having been that themselves. We're in a semi-ancient trap. This is not evil natural to humanity, but through us being victim of what took us from the identity of value progression, its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that as evolution science, which only feels like game. So it doesn't feel like that now because no one's saying what, especially this is why we have to do it simultaneously, all areas. We have to be able to doing this, admitting all areas tactically forsaken, tactically denatured. That was already exploited. How it was other was defended, pretended other legitimate. Nothing has been practical. Nothing has had ethics. Where and how it counts, and that's where they were used remotely. Their identities of value progression. Each branch of government, each identity of the ground location businesses, all victims. Then you try to say something that they're insurance companies. I know how we could. So these are identity of the ground locations. You guys have roles with investigators. Then they have to defend their investigator. They're invested. Oh, but there's us where we have training on off campuses of each age and nature. These are all abridged trainings. That was already preempted. So we have all victim forgivenesses for this because this is identity of the ground life aggression. This is preventing science. Jesus Christ with the halo and with the A and the W. This is about the identity the sciences share. This is about the identity that each of the letters share as a living body of value slash value progression with a living with the inescapable identity of relationship it has to itself. Where and as and how its identity will only be more and more positive or negative value nature. And if it is positive, also positive onto itself, each identity of value, A through Z, each person, thing, A through Z, it only lives till its extinction. X stands for extinction. W, so it's A through W. That's why A is on the left side of the Jesus' head on Yale's website, Yale University. they have double A on the left side of Jesus' head and W on the right side, and the halo is illuminated. This is because, and this is evidence of how Jesus Christ helped preserve English and helped preserve the republic for which America stands, using the value of the Pledge of Allegiance, for example. In relationship to contemplations, every modern nation has been prevented each location, area, and state in science. Per sense and per sensibility, to use a phrase reportedly of Jane Austen's. In relationship to this, we're in how identity thefts, racketeering, and frauds roles were facilitated, self-valued by what was entrenched here since before each modern nation's founding parents were born. Modern nations were fit onto and as tactically, criminally re-engineered sciences as victims, not realizing that nature would not realizing what the semi-ancients realized and understood, and what they couldn't fathom anyone not humanity forgetting it, because it's how to cause and reveal evolution's fruits and gifts and means from nowhere. They understood that, how to do that, but using the ground's identity of relationship to itself, to the identity of value progression, identity of relationship to itself. Only the extent of it is debatable. The extent of it offensively, again, is involved with offensively prevents logic that is not criminally foreign influenced from free speech. Now, the evidences of this too are how courts are in collusion with medical racketeering, distinctly and non-distinctly with the police. And they are and have, for example, been lying about what is actually recorded. That's why it's yeah, I even have to you can't separate it from how they used AT&T, how they used all the insurance locations, for example, all identity the ground locations, all the campuses of each age and nature, each database, all the online platforms. It's not just that they made a fake Facebook pages pretending to be me, pretending to be other people as the one with fake YouTube pages. The same people interbranch from my town, also intercities, worse than interstates, roles for also recorded actually with people in the World Trade Center attack context, Ninth Circuit, right before the Trade Center attack context, and leading up to that criminally. And that proven, they're pretending they'll understand through time also recorded, through depositions, other means. Now, such things are in relationship to where and how the only counters to all the crazy things, hundreds of nations sick together at once. All these threats real at once, all juxtaposed. Motivations that blamed other things. I forgot vaccines. I forgot what I was going to say. But the point is, what we can do right now is stack artistic charities that are worked by the people in locations most forsaken, like when there's big people stacking. That that created to maintain self-value. Manipulation of the human culture, where our culture is is invisible but discernible. But we have the invisible physical delusions, but still discernible physical delusions of the sciences, of the branches of government, each individual of them, each difference of them, each group of them, each altogether. Originally and still effectively used. Each modern nation, we're in some ancient trap. Life only capable of being life progressions. That's why everyone's sick. They don't know how to say it when there are important things to speak about that we should have just got through real fast. So instead, we're still people debating racism dishonestly, fake sides, only allowed to speak so they can prevent reliefs because they're preventing the predicate acts, the methods of them, the methods of hiding them really, because they have collusion with the people that counter them with them. When they have witch trials, when they have the narratives in relationship to that, when they blame it on, oh, it's most probably because they thought they were high, because they got high and they thought it was that they got paranoid. No, because they're criminally foreign influenced and their delusions wrought. Not, but I'm not saying that they really believed that they were witches. I'm saying they were criminally foreign influenced. That that's known true always. See, but we have what is true always denied by people valuing already standing there. Science is criminally foreign influence, delusions raw. And so styles of treatments of positive, again of sense and sensibilities in relationship to what was is missed, that is parted, was in how I maintain parted actually from artistic treatments as science, like for example, the English arts, control your hearts. For example, in relationship to the preservation of the sophistication of English, preservation, and not which involved also not the evolution of. It's still not preserved. It was criminally re-engineered. They needed everyone not to blame other things on others themselves. They had to engineer other motivations for people to blame other things themselves. Other means for them to get away with it, to pretend it was for other motivations, evil, with fake sides of body of value treatments. Wherein as now accounts why and how we are fact treatment nature. Why and how we are needing free speech, freedom of religion. Why and how they forced originally instill religious locations and then all the individuals grouped and together, opinion natures to collusion. Originally instilled with as child offenders, with the branches of government, fake sides of difference, with the database stewards of each science. For how everyone's victim predator is speaking through others, and titles where are used here and there, indifferent to database racketeering. And if they admit it when they're not, we get punished for sanctions treatments. That becomes we're watching each other. We have on off Central Connecticut State University, a whole bunch of people from off that campus and from off the branches of government at the same time, distinctly, non distinctly, but simultaneously and methodically by a breaching method that was between each campus of each age and nature since before they were born, each people older than me. You let us see vaccine. So this thing's pausing. I don't think it's going.